Good morning, Miss and Sir. This is our final project presentation for Principle and Practices of International Management. My name is Divyanita Gobalan, and we have Wan Nur Nadira, Nur Azmira, Nur Shafika, and Muhammad Irman Hakimi. And we'll proceed with the first presenter.
Okay, so I will presenting about country background. Malaysia is a multi-ethnic and multi-religious Southeast Asian country. On August 31, 1957, Malaysia gained independence. On September 16, 1963, Singapore, Sabah and Sarawak joined the Federation. From then on, Malaysia was used. On August 9, 1965, Singapore left the Federation. Western Malaysia is surrounded on three sides by the Malacca Straits, the South China Sea and the Johor Strait, which separates it from Singapore. East Malaysia or Malaysian Borneo is the northernmost area of Borneo. Three main ethnic groups exist in Malaysia, each with its own history, culture and tradition. 60% of the population is Bumiputra, which includes Malays, Orang Asli and other indigenous peoples. Minorities include Chinese 20% and Indians 10%. Malaysia has around 130 living languages, with Bahasa Malaysia being the national language. Its 88-story Petronas Twin Towers are Malaysia's modern symbol. The country has a number of important Muslim religious sites. Notable mosques in Malaysia include Masjid Jamia in Kuala Lumpur, the National Mosque in Putrajaya, the Pink Putra Mosque in Putrajaya, and the contemporary Cyberjaya Mosque in Selangor. Next.
I'm going to explain about an overall cultural aspect in Malaysia and how they affect the workplace. First is business meeting. While meeting the punctuality is generally not a big priority in Malaysia, but it is still to expect in the business environment. However, meetings can be start a bit late than scheduled, even when everyone is present, as people tend to be slow and not rushed. So this will make the employee, especially Muslim, can take a break for the Islamic daily prayer. Second is reward system. In Malaysia, mostly the company that are into sales are playing the reward system for their company and employees. In order to increase the sales of the unit, the company provides the benefit to the employees who can help to achieve the company objectives. So rewards such as special event, bonus salary, double up the commission, or a gift can make the employees feel valued without greatly affecting the company bottom line. So this culture will affect the employees at the workplace to work harder and more consistent. Third is attitude and beliefs. Like in Malaysia, there are different races and such as Indian, Malay, and Chinese. For example, Malay religion is Islam, and of course they have their beliefs. Same goes to the other races and religion. If the company know the sensitivity issue of the religion, they might not have a problem in the workplace, and the employee will do their job happily and peacefully without any issues. That's all for me. I'll pass it to for next presenter.
For the opportunities and challenges part, we have first policy incentives and excellent conditions. So in Malaysia, we have natural resources that was a blessing given, and the rising market growth in the recent years has birthed a highly diverse market and increased buying power for the country. Malaysia has now welcomed more companies to set up in Malaysia to show that they are an open economy that promotes investment. In challenges, investors are investing in new businesses. So investors don't know whether to invest in new or already established companies here in Malaysia. They have to sit through an interview by interviewing potential candidates for them to invest in. That is not easy. And the second challenge we have is property. So investors need to check whether the property or business they are going to invest in is legit and not some illegal property. And they may bring major backlash to their company image or even face the same bankruptcy with them if their business is gone. And the third, we have manufacturing sector. So if they don't know in which sector to invest in when entering the country, they always will be misled by other businesses in different sectors as beforehand, so that there won't be any misled situations. Next presenter, thank you.
I will be explaining about the political risk in Malaysia. Firstly, the political risk exists in each of country across the world, varies in importance and sort of from to the next. Second, there are three categories in political risk, which is the transfer risk, ownership risk, and operational risk. The third one is Malaysia has a low risk of expropriation, which leads to low political risk. Fourth, Malaysia is a low risk country. Malaysia government bonds are rated as investment grade. Next one, to the next slide. Next one is the transfer risk. I will start with the meaning of transfer risk, which is transfer risk. Transfer risk is defined as the threat of local currency can't be converted into another nation's currency due to changes in nominal value or because of specific regulation or exchange restriction. Transfer risk may arise when a currency is not widely traded and capital controls prevent an investor or businesses from freely moving currency in or out of a country. For example, when a Malaysian company buys goods from a US company, the transaction is usually paid in USD or Ringgit, Malaysia, RM. Since Malaysia is a developing country, so most of the time, MNC usually use US dollar instead of Ringgit Malaysia because the US dollar's value against the Malaysian ringgit has stayed stable, but still the choice of currency is an international transaction is frequently determined by the needs and requirement of each company. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, next is ownership risk. For starter, this study is the first to examine state ownership through GICs and their risk-taking behavior in Malaysia's banking sector. Malaysia is suited for this research because Malaysian commercial banks are the largest and most important money providers in the Malaysian financial system. Their risk-taking can have a considerable impact on the country's economic success. Second is prior research has mainly ignored the impact of corporate governance systems. Using Malaysian data, evaluate how board composition influences bank risk-taking behavior, including board independence, foreign director, and female director. By examining the relationship between state ownership and risk-taking behavior, this study's findings provide insight on the role of the government meddling in banking. This is to understand how state ownership affects Malaysian banks' risk-taking. Forging and extending loans by state government increase risks. Social lending theory holds the state-owned banks prioritize projects with high social returns. The robustness results show that the state-owned banks take more risks. However, better but that state-owned banks take more risks. There are also evidence that state ownership influences banks' risk-taking. This research examines the implication of Malaysia's banking industry profit potential. As a result, the government decided to buy shares in local commercial banks. Next.
Next, we talk about operational risk. Right, the operational risk is the possibility of loss due to inadequate or failed processes, system or guidelines is known as operational risk. Example of these are employees errors, system failures, and so on. Next is about Malaysia is one of the maximum attractive funding location in Asia with an extra liberal exchange regime and inviting funding guidelines than a number of its key nearby peers along with China, the Philippines, and Indonesia. Next is about cultural misadjustment. Malaysia has been a meeting place for wide variety of cultures and religions since the beginning of its history as a result of this external influence a new uniform but excellent Malay culture has emerged. Malaysians rely on indirect communication because of the need for harmonious relationship. In Malaysia, it's generally considered impolite to touch strangers. The official religion of Malaysia is Islam and has a largest number of adherents in the population. There are various races in Malaysia, such as Malay, Chinese, and Indian, and so on. Plus, as a result, almost all of the world major religions have notable and enduring presence in Malaysia today. For example, 19.8% describe themselves as a Buddhist, 9.2% as a Hindu, and 6.3% as followers of traditional Chinese religions, such as Confucianism and Taoism. Then I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, in conclusion, if we were to give advice to the people who are willing to offshore in Malaysia, they should take note of the way things are done in Malaysia. So they should first understand the culture of Malaysians. Malaysia not only has Islam religion, but also other ethnicities as well. So in Malaysia, they practice many cultures, and offshoring in a country that has many cultures is a challenge as they have to understand them. Moreover, Malaysian workers are accustomed to working 9 hours each day, 5 days per week. Understanding Malaysian culture will definitely make investing worth it. Thank you.